Hello, welcome to another episode of PPC Unleashed, and today I'm talking about how we onboard Google Ads clients. My name is Xavier, I'm a Google Ads expert and PPC director for Jack Pine Media, and yes, today I'm walking you through how we onboard Google Ads clients, and yes, I am on video as well, so if you're on YouTube, you're going to be able to see a presentation in which I'm going to walk you through all the different tasks and the project that we follow in order to onboard clients. If you're on the audio-only version, I'll try to do my best to just describe everything in detail so that you can follow along. So don't worry if you're just listening to the audio version of the podcast, but if you want to watch along, go on YouTube and remember to subscribe as always. Anyway, as I said, I'm gonna walk you through how we onboard Google Ads clients to make sure that we don't make mistakes, nothing falls through the cracks, and we reduce the friction that can always happen whenever you're onboarding clients with any new company. And we also make sure that our clients, by following this process, we make sure that our clients are set up for success. They get a great first impression, and that helps improve the relationship long term. I will share with you the 12 tasks and all the subtasks in Asana that we use for the onboarding project for Google Ads. If you use Monday or some other task software, you can probably just copy a lot of what you're going to see here and adapt it to your own onboarding if it makes sense for your business. These tasks are for smaller, medium-sized agencies. We as an agency do the onboarding ourselves. If you're the person managing Google Ads, you are the person that is being assigned the onboarding as well. Larger agencies might have a dedicated onboarding manager, so somebody who's literally just doing this all the time. They're in charge of onboarding clients, and then they hand off the finished onboarding project, or once the client is fully onboarded, they're just going to hand it off to the person who will continue to do the account management and the optimizations. But in this case, the person for us that does the optimizations, that will be managing the account, that is assigned the account, is also the person that's going to be doing the onboarding. If you are following this process, keep in mind that definitely causes some disruption, because the person doing optimizations all of a sudden has to do a lot of these onboarding tasks, and they can fall behind on some of their regular tasks. Our agency does give a lot of room, or we don't assign that many clients to a single person. So generally, most of the time, most people have the time and room that we can make the time to onboard clients, but just keep those things in mind. If you are a larger agency, you might consider doing what I said earlier, which is you might consider having a person dedicated to just onboarding clients. And you might even want to use an onboarding software such as Talify or something along those lines to help you with the process and getting those accesses and things like that can take a long time from the clients especially. But in this case, for me, like I said, this is an Asana project, and I'm going to share with you the 12 steps that are part of the Asana project. So we're watching them now, and we go through pretty much the point that we obtain access and we create the accounts that we need to create, all the way to the point where we create the monthly reports that we're going to create for our clients. So I'll walk you through in this episode. I'm going to be walking you through every single one of these steps and all the sub-steps or the subtasks that are going to be part of this process. You might find that the client questionnaire is missing from the 12 tasks here, and we do request a client questionnaire. We do get one, but the sales team handles it, and this happens before this project is assigned to the person that will be doing the onboarding. In our case, we call this the Google Ads strategist. Your agency might have a different name for the person managing Google Ads accounts, but we call them the strategist, and the strategist has a manager as well. So just keep that in mind, because some of these tasks will be for the strategist, some of them will be for the manager, and some of them will also be for our developer, our website developer. So let's start with number one, which is obtain access / create accounts. So what this refers to is basically we just need to get this. The first thing we have to do is just get access to the accounts. If the client has existing Google Ads accounts, or if the client does not have an existing Google Ads account, we will create one for them. This applies for pretty much all these different platforms, but the process for Google Ads is going to be different depending on whether or not the client has an account or not. So if the client has an existing Google Ads account, what we do is we ask the client for their Google Ads ID, and then we'll send a link request from our manager account, which they will have to accept, and that is how we will connect our Google Ads account, or their account will be connected to our manager account. If they do not have an existing Google Ads account, we'll create one for them, and I'm going to get through to that later in this presentation. For Google Analytics 4, basically it's a matter of obtaining access. Most companies that we work with already have a GA4 account. Most of them also already have a Google Tag Manager account, but if they don't have any of these things, we will create one for them. If not, the goal is just to get those clients to add us. So in Asana, when we open this task, we also have all the different instructions that we can just literally copy paste and send in an email to the client, so the client knows exactly what they have to do. If they're not very tech savvy, they know exactly where to navigate, where to log in, what page to visit in order to give us the access. So we just copy paste the instructions, we send it to the client, and we get these accesses as fast as possible, because this is a thing that can sometimes cause a lot of delays, is getting these accesses. So a few more, which are going to be Google Merchant Center. This is going to be for e-commerce only. Same thing. If the client does not have one, we'll create a Merchant Center account for them. So if we're onboarding a client from scratch, we're creating their Google Ads account, we're creating their Merchant Center, we'll get that. We want to get admin access to the website as well, whether it's a Shopify website, WordPress, Wix, whatever it is, because we want to be able to download forms. We want to be able to fix if we see something is wrong, a text is wrong, there's a typo on the landing page. We don't want to have to send an email to a client, wait 2 weeks for them to fix a problem on the website. We want to be able to log in, fix something right away, and continue. And generally speaking, in our agency, we also do website management. So most of the clients we work with, we also have access to their website, but it's just in there just in case we do have a PPC or a Google Ads only client. And we also want access to the CRM or any other tools, whether it's Salesforce, HubSpot, etc., because we want to be able to verify that the leads we're delivering are high quality and they are turning into sales. So we want to be able to follow along the leads that we're getting. And we might want to also import those leads back into Google Ads for offline conversion tracking purposes. We also want access to any necessary third-party conversion tracking tools or attribution tools. And sorry for the misspelling there, missing a G. But that leads us to step number 2, which is going to be research and strategy. So for the research and strategy section, at this point, we are starting to do some work. We may already have, as I said, the client questionnaire. And the other thing we may already have is we may have already done an audit for this particular business. A lot of the times we'll do an audit, and that's really what gets the sale for us is the fact that we did an audit. And in the audit, we also present a proposal for a strategy. We will present our recommendations and our proposed strategy in the audit. So that's includes part of the research that is needed to be completed in this particular subtask for PPC research and strategy. But basically, we want to look at the market. We want to do a competitor analysis. Maybe we want to do some keyword research and understand what the CPC is in the target locations in the area that we're going to be targeting in the campaigns, just to understand what is the search volume, and put together some calculations for how much the client should be spending, and we'll provide that or include that as part of the research and strategy spreadsheet. I'm not going to show you the exact spreadsheet we use, but we do have a document that we fill out in which we enter the client goals, top products or services, the main competitors, the conversion paths or goals, which is what are they tracking? Are they tracking forms? Are we tracking purchases? What are the things that we can track and should track in the Google Ads account? What is going to be the strategy? Is it going to be inbound, outbound, etc.? And what are the campaign types that we're going to be using in this particular business based on all that strategy? So we have a document. We close the task by filling out the document, and that's how we complete it. The next subtask is going to be the campaign structure. So basically, we build out the campaign, the ad group, the keywords, and the ad copy. And we use a campaign creation sheet. So I put a screenshot here of what that sheet looks like. You may have used something like this before. This is just the one that we use, but this is the sheet where you literally just put your campaigns, your ad groups, your keywords, your match type, and you copy paste everything into the Google Ads editor. If you're not doing this, you're losing a lot of time. This saves you so much time. You can create 5 campaigns in 10 minutes using this spreadsheet and you can literally just copy paste everything into the Google Ads editor. So that's going to be number 2, the research and strategy phase. Next is going to be a task for the manager. So if I'm assigning this to somebody from my team and I'm the manager, I'm the one who is assigned this particular task. And I get assigned this once the strategist is finished with the research and strategy task. So now my job is to go in and check the research and strategy document and make sure that everything makes sense. And I just basically have to approve or leave any comments explaining suggested approach and strategy or any other suggestions that we might have. Next is PPC Landing Page Creation, and this is for the developer. Keep in mind that a lot of these tasks might be happening simultaneously. It's not happening all in order. These can be done in different orders. So while we're doing the research and strategy, generally, we're also going to be creating landing pages whenever it's necessary. It's not always necessary if it's an e-commerce client and they have a website where we're doing shopping ads and the ads are going directly to product pages. We're not going to be creating landing pages, but in this case, for lead generation, a lot of our clients are lead generation. So just especially with healthcare, we have a lot of healthcare clients, and we get a lot of ad disapprovals because we have clients that offer med spa might offer Botox, and that disapproves the entire website. So we'll need to create a dedicated PPC only landing page that does not have med spa we'll need to create a dedicated PPC only landing page that does not have Metspa in the code of the page. So we will assign a landing page task to a developer to work as we're building out the campaign and everything. Somebody else is also going to be building out a landing page. And part of what we do as well is that we will fill out a specific template for landing page creation, and we want to specify the content that's going to be on the landing page. So we want to specify what's going to be the hero image and other photos that are going to be on the page. If it's a medical client, before afters are going to be very important. An image gallery we want to have in the page, or different photos that we want to have in the page. The main headline, which is generally going to be the dream outcome, subheadlines, value bullets, everything that applies basically. Not everything that you see here goes into every single landing page, but we want to add as much as possible. So calls to action, reviews, testimonials. Sometimes we just need to point out to the developer which are the ones that we're going to be using. So for example, we go to the Google Business Profile page and we find some great testimonials that we think should be highlighted in the page. So we might include specific sentences from specific reviews. So that's what we mean by pointing out which ones we'll use. A benefits section, a why us / unique selling proposition section, a list of services and features, pricing information, a short bio, FAQ. And yes, we do use ChatGPT a lot to help us with this, because we often work with a lot of companies that don't have any of this content on their website. So we will often use ChatGPT to create an FAQ section, for example. That saves us a lot of time. And we can do that if the service that they're offering is a very well-known service. Like we have a lot of liposuction clients, so we'll ask ChatGPT to create a liposuction FAQ, and that saves us a lot of time. Next is going to be conversion tracking. That's going to be step number 5. We're onto conversion tracking. Before we build out the Google Ads campaign, I generally like to start with the conversion tracking first. Generally, we want to track in Google Analytics 4 and Google Ads, although the primary goals are all going to be Google Ads, specifically with Google Tag Manager. But we also like to track everything on GA4 as well, just as a backup or as a comparison tool. So we want to create events in GA4 if they haven't been created yet, the events that we'll be tracking in Google Ads. And we want to link GA4 to Google Ads, ensure that audiences are added so that we can add audiences from GA4 to Google Ads as well. And we have that option. Next, we'll create the goals for Google Ads. And I mean that inside of Google Ads. So lead generation goals are going to be the form submission, and we might create first time and repeat callers as well, again for lead generation, and we can create any other goals such as chat, emails, etc. For e-commerce, we're going to go ahead and create the purchase goal, the add to cart, the subscriptions, whatever it is that we're tracking on the e-commerce website. As part of the conversion tracking, there's a tag manager task, which is going to be a little bit more detailed. It's going to be longer because we do create our goals through Google Tag Manager. And we have a list here of just the different things that we must make sure are always installed in every new account. So we want to make sure that conversion linkers are there, that we've created the tags and triggers for the form submissions, calls, or purchases, whatever goals we're tracking. We'll create the tags for enhanced conversions, create the tags for call tracking, or install other third-party tracking tools. Number 6 here is going to be call tracking, so I'm going to get to that in a second. We'll create a track to track the GCLID to make sure that anytime somebody submits a form or somebody makes a purchase on the website, we are tracking the GCL ID or capturing the GCLID, and that gets added to the CRM and the forms when we download them. And we create a tag to install Microsoft Clarity. If you're not using Microsoft Clarity, you should be using it. It's free and it's pretty awesome. I pretty much use it almost every day now because of how helpful it is, especially again, to help me find GCLIDs and things like that. It really helps with offline conversion tracking. But that's something for a different day, I guess. Next, number 6, this is going to be the call tracking step. And this is mostly for lead generation. It's going to be very rare that we have an e-commerce client that requires lead gen. I used to work with a lot of furniture stores though, and that is a lead gen, that is an e-commerce client that does have a lot of phone calls. So there are some businesses in which you'll need phone call tracking for e-commerce, but mostly it's a lead gen task. So we'll create the account for our agency. We'll add call tracking metrics. So we give tracking metrics to every single client that we onboard. It's included in our service. But sometimes clients have their own call tracking. They might have their own CTM account, or they might have their own call rail account, for example. So generally speaking, though, we will create the sub account under our agency account in call tracking metrics. We'll purchase the tracking numbers, ensuring that we have the correct area code. For example, if this client has a 305 area code, we'll want to purchase numbers that are also 305. If they are healthcare related clients, we want to make sure they're HIPAA compliant. We'll configure the numbers, assign the source, etc. So if it's a Google Ads number, an organic number, whatever it is that we're tracking, we're going to assign all of that. We're going to assign the routing and the target number. So the routing number is a number that's going to be called. The target number is a number that is going to be swapped on the website. We integrate with Google Ads, J4, and other platforms. We configure the goals, the triggers to make sure that, hey, when we set the conditions, right? So if a call happens that is over 60 seconds long, we send the conversion to Google Ads, or maybe we set it to 120 seconds. And we also set up triggers so that when a call is converted as a lead, it will also send an offline conversion to Google Ads as a converted lead. So we'll also set up those goals inside of Google Ads as well. And finally, we install the call tracking code to make sure that the numbers do swap, and we use Google Tag Manager whenever possible. The last thing we do is we test that the numbers are swapping. So once we've installed the code, we'll open the website and we'll place a little string of code, like which is question mark equals gclit test or something, and we add that code to the website and we make sure the numbers are swapping. So once we have verified all that, we can move on to the next step, which is going to be the PPC campaign build and creation. So the subtask is the Google Ads account creation. So now at this point, we can start building the campaign. But like I said, we could have done this as well before the conversion tracking. I just like doing the conversion tracking first. Account creation is only for clients that don't have an existing Google Ads account, as I mentioned. So sometimes we'll have clients that don't have an account, so we'll build an account for them. And this is exactly the process we follow every time. We create a Gmail address in incognito. Then we will create the Google Ads account using that address. We'll link that account to our manager account. We'll apply for the Google credit using the address. Now, one interesting thing is that recently Google has, number one, they've always given away a credit, but now they've increased it to $1,500. So if you spend $3,000 in the first 60 days, you can get up to $1,500 in Google Ads credit. This only applies for brand new companies that have not advertised on Google. So that's why we create a Gmail address incognito. And this is how we ensure that every single one of our new clients that's getting a new Google Ads account is also getting the credit. Keep in mind that Google is now asking for billing information up front now. It's not that you used to be able to just create an account and add billing info later. Now, for you to get the credit, you have to put your billing info the moment you're creating the account. So keep that in mind. I have enter billing in a future step, but keep in mind that it's been moved. If you are in the account creation step, if you're creating an account, you're going to have to enter billing info from the beginning. Next is going to be campaign build. So whether you're just jumping straight to this task or you're doing the campaign build first, but these are the steps that we're going to follow. Once everything else is completed, we're going to go ahead and start building the Google Ads campaign in the editor. So we can do the copy paste that I mentioned earlier from the spreadsheet into the Google Ads editor. We want to make sure that the build out has all the following and that everything is correct. The campaign names are correct. We have the correct budgets. We have the correct settings. That includes the bidding strategy, the location settings. We always add UTM parameters to all of our campaigns to make sure that in the CRM we can download and we can see which campaigns, which keywords, which ads were the ones that led to that specific lead, so that we can see and for the offline conversions, we can see what are the ones that are performing the best and assign that and associate that to our campaigns to make better decisions and optimizations. We want to check the keyword match types are correct, because too often we paste, especially when using the editor, you just post a campaign and all the keywords are set to broad match and they were meant to be exact. So make sure the keyword match types are correct. We've added negative keywords and negative keyword lists. And a lot of this has to do with the research as well. If we did competitor research, we want to make sure that we've created a list for competitors, for example. We double check the ads. We write the ads and then double check the ads and check for typos or misspellings. The final URL, that's a very common, again, mistake that always happens, that you forget to enter the landing pages, or sometimes you enter the wrong landing pages. And especially sometimes you have to place placeholder landing pages because we're still working on the other page. So you have to go back and make sure that the final URL is correct before we launch the campaign. Assets, so site links, callouts, snippets, everything that applies, we want it to be in there. We want to always include audiences in observation, and we want to make sure that the goals are in place. And that's basically it as far as the campaign creation. Then there's another task to publish the campaign. So at that point, we can go ahead and post the Google Ads campaigns from the Google Ads editor, or if you built them from the interface, we can go ahead and just publish the campaigns. And we ensure the campaigns are paused until the launch date, if we have a specific launch date. That is a lightning. Next, we review locations, budgets, and settings. We double check that the following settings are correct. So again, we double check that the target locations are correct, daily budgets are correct, the bidding strategy and settings are correct, auto tagging is turned on, and conversion tracking has been set up and tested. We add billing info for new accounts, which, as I said, Google is now starting to request that you add billing at the very beginning of when you're creating the campaign. So keep that in mind. You might be able to add it at the end, but sometimes we add it in the moment of the campaign creation is when it has to be added now. And what we do is we just need to obtain the payment method from the client, or we send the client the instructions. We give the client access to the account and send them the instructions for how they can enter the payment method, the credit card information into the Google Ads account. Next goes back to the manager. There's a campaign QA. So this is basically a checkup of the campaign creation to make sure that no mistakes were made. So we make sure that all the steps were followed carefully, that the campaigns have been created and set up for success, review that nothing is missing, no mistakes were made in the build out process. Again, we check on the account settings, the locations, the schedules, the budgets. And as a manager, I always test the goals. I always make sure I go to Tag Manager. I do a quick form submission test to make sure that the goals are firing correctly, or I make sure to maybe do a purchase test or something to make sure that the goals are indeed firing. This is basically a task management optimization cadence. This is a very, very small task. Again, this is a manager task in which we basically just assign the optimization and bid review tasks to the strategist who will be taking over the account. So it's essentially just an Asana internal task of just assigning when the optimizations will happen and the recurring task and the frequency of the task. So are these going to be weekly optimizations? Are these going to be every 2 weeks? Oftentimes for clients over $5,000, we do weekly optimizations. For clients under $5,000, we do every 2 weeks, but it depends on the client. Sometimes there are going to be businesses that are spending $3,000, $4,000 where we do weekly optimizations perhaps for a week or so, or 2 or 3 weeks or so, or 4 weeks or so, and then we switch back to every 2 weeks. But that's a very small task for the manager. Then there's a campaign launch. So once the manager QA is finished, the manager has delivered any recommendations and the strategist has corrected and fixed all the mistakes found during the QA, we can go ahead and launch the campaigns as soon as possible if the client has just requested to do it as soon as possible, or if they've specified a specific launch date, then we'll set up an automated rule to enable the campaigns on the day that that the client has requested. As I said earlier, we do post the campaigns paused, right? So when we create the campaigns, we always make sure they're paused and we launch them to make sure that it's happening on the requested date. Sorry if there's a little bit of background noise because it's starting to rain here and it's my screen's getting a little darker, but hopefully you can still hear me okay. Only 2 more tasks to go. This is going to be number 11. So after the campaign is launched, 24 hours later, we're doing what is called a bid review. You can also call it a health check. It's a small optimization. In which we're basically just reviewing the following. We want to make sure that we're getting impressions and clicks, that our bids are high enough to rank so we don't have any keywords below first page bid. And yes, we do launch all of our campaigns on manual. I'm not going to get into why. That's too long a conversation, but yes, we do launch on manual and review the bids are getting impressions, that we are ranking high enough, that no ads or assets are disapproved. So we want to make that check. The quality of the systems look good, and we're getting relevant traffic, and we don't have any conflicting negative keywords. We do that 24 hours after launch, and we do that 72 hours after launch. So within 24 hours, sometimes you might not catch everything. Sometimes things will be approved for 24 hours, and then in 72 hours, things do get disapproved, and this is where you'll find some of these things, or maybe the conflicting negative keywords will pop up after 48 hours. So that's why we do it at 24 and 72. We do those 2 different checkups. And then, usually it's going to be 1 week after the launch of the campaign, which is going to be the day before the 24-hour bid review, when we actually do the weekly optimizations from that point forward. So if it's a Wednesday, if the campaign is launched on a Wednesday, the next Wednesday is when we'll start doing the optimizations, or the optimization tasks are assigned. And that's the bid review. And finally, we create a client dashboard. Now, you'll probably have a very different reporting tool than we do. We use something called TapClicks. It's my favorite reporting platform. I probably, when I first got TapClicks, I probably tested 5, 6, or 7 different, I probably did 5 or 6 demo calls with a lot of the different reporting platforms out there. And honestly, I had used TapClicks in the past and I was struggling with it because this is a very expensive tool, but to me, it's my favorite. It's the one that it's hard for me not to use it. It's extremely fast. It loads faster than Google Ads, which is funny because it used to be very slow. but the newest version is actually very, very fast. It's easy to do very simple comparisons. It's easy to do, just show the client the most useful information very quickly, but also in a very detailed way. It's very great for, like I said, comparisons. You can very quickly do a year over year, month over month. You can do a lot of tables and charts and things that make reporting data very, very easy, and it makes for great monthly reports as well. So I'm not going to go through all the descriptions of each subtask just because it's going to take too long and it may not apply to you because you might be using a completely different reporting platform. But the last thing we do is basically create the dashboard. This client has access to log in to the dashboard. It's a TapClicks offers white label dashboard, so we can put our own name on the dashboard and they can log in to a URL that has our name, our agency's name. And basically they have their own login. They can log in at every time, but we also send this as a PDF every month. I put a screenshot of what one of our reports looks like, and we have you create these different tabs for different sections. So you're going to have a GA4 section, a Google Business Profile section, a Google Ads section, a call tracking section, etc. Anyway, we create a client, we connect the data sources. So that basically just means connect Google Ads, connect GA4, connect the call tracking platform, CTM, whatever it is. We'll create the dashboards. Usually we have a template, we make a copy, we change some of the colors sometimes to make it match the client colors. We create the users, send access to the client, and then we'll create the report and schedule the report. So whether it's the 5th of every month or the 10th of every month, we create that schedule so the client receives the PDF on their inbox automatically every month. And that is basically it. We're at about 26 minutes so far, so hopefully it didn't take too long to go through the whole thing. Thank you for watching, and that is how we onboard Google Ads clients. You can connect with me at LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm posting there all the time, and you can also find me at jackpinemedia.com if you'd be interested in working with us. Feel free to reach out through any of those ways. This has been another episode of PPC Unleashed. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of it. Hopefully you found it interesting. Let me know in the comments if this type of content was useful. I think we could do entire episodes on several of these tasks. Like there could be an entire episode about call tracking, an entire episode of conversion tracking. I've already done an episode on conversion tracking, but we can do deeper dives on all of these different sections. And I want to do more follow-ups as far as, okay, what do we do now that we've onboarded the clients? What is that we do now? So if all that sounds interesting, let me know in the comments. And again, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. It'll mean a lot if you share the podcast with anybody who you think could find it useful. If it was valuable to you, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Until next time.